And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Connected for Real podcast. I'm Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman, a marriage coach for women in business. And today I have Mary Jo, and she is going to introduce herself and tell you what she does. And then we're going to get right into it because it's super exciting. Mary Jo, welcome.
Thank you, Bat-Chen. It's so great to be here. I know we've had wonderful conversations in the past off the record, and we've looked forward to this time. So I am now doing something I never thought I would do. Um, and that is I help women recover from divorce, regardless of how long it's been since the breakup of their marriage. This is something I never thought I would do. In fact, I have written about the sanctity of marriage, about the importance of marriage, and that was my passion, and still is. Um, but after 44 years of marriage, I ended up very unexpectedly divorced. And so seeing this in my path going forward, obviously, okay, Lord, we take lemons and make lemonade now. And I can see that this is God's path for my life, to take my experience, to take both my appreciation for marriage and my desire to help other women who've experienced the breakup of a marriage to recover, to recognize that they're whole persons in themselves. And
Whew.
yeah.
So tell me about divorce. And because we were right before this call, we started talking. I said, no, wait, let's keep it for the it's gonna be good. I didn't want to spoil it. You know, sometimes you have such a good conversation before the live, and then
Yeah.
we already talked about everything. So I actually, you have no idea what I'm going to say, and I have no idea what you're going to say, but I want to hear what you think God's take is on divorce and how it fits into being God-centered and having God as part of your life.
Okay. Number one, and this will be an interesting discussion. I don't think divorce is part of God's original plan.
Okay.
I think there are marriages that were probably not meant to happen. No, probably in that. I think there are matches that people make where they marry the wrong person. They marry for the wrong reason. Whether that's convenience or whether that's to get away from a bad family situation, whatever. And so from the standpoint of, are there situations where God wants you out? Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because I don't believe God ever wants anyone to be abused, to experience offenses to dignity, to be dominated. The original plan for marriage is that complementarity for men and women to bring their gifts into a relationship, to be whole persons in their own right, bring that into the relationship and prosper within that and bring that grace and that gifting out into the world.
Okay, so that I agree with. I love
Okay.
that. I love that part. I don't think that there was a mistake. I believe, and also this is very much a Jewish thought, that if you stand under the chuppah, which is the canopy of marriage, right?
Right.
The ceremony. If you have gone through that, then it means it had to happen. So if something has to be broken up or is really wrong or something is not right, then it will break off before the wedding. And if you have gone through that marriage ceremony, then it means that this was meant to be. It had to happen. Now, sometimes did it have to happen so that you can grow up and learn certain things and whatever? Right. It had to, sometimes, my father always said that there are certain people in the world, they're only here for you to know what not to do, right? Like there are certain situations. One second, we lost you. Internet? Internet friends. Are we here? Are we not? I don't know if it's recording and I don't know if it's working. Anybody? Do you guys who are watching, I see that there's a bunch of you watching. Do you want to comment, please, and tell me if you can hear me or if you guys are stuck? Because I want to know if it's my internet or hers. Let's see if we get any comments. She's gone. Okay. Something's up with the internet. We are going to make sure that it all comes back. But for now, whoever is watching, I know that there are a handful of you who are watching. I have a number up there with a little eye icon. I don't know who you are. So if you could do me a favor and just put in the chat a hi or a I'm watching or this is working. So I know that the internet is actually working. um are you there? Anybody? We are live and we don't know if we're live. Let's see. Hello, hello. Ay, ay, ay. How are we going to find out if we're live? Okay, you on YouTube, can you just go into your chat and type up, hey? What do you say? Okay, well, that was upsetting because I think that was really fun and a good conversation. But let's see what's going on. Well, meanwhile, let me tell you about the Marriage Breakthrough Retreat, which you should all be signing up for. ConnectedForReal.com/retreat. And let's see if I can try to catch Mary Jo and send her the link again. Ah, there she is. She is back. You're back.
I will tell you that in a couple years that I've had this internet and I am hardwired.
Ah, and there she goes again. She's going to tell us it never happened to her, and now it's happening twice in a row. This is crazy. Look, our viewership just jumped by 4 people.
It was just like, you have no internet.
Oh, there you are. And now you're stuck again. Okay, we can do this. We are talking about divorce and marriage, the sanctity of marriage, and the surprise divorces that happen. I have no idea if you can hear me because nobody is writing anything in the comments. Can you guys do me a favor and write in the comments and then we'll know? Mary Jo, what if I remove you and then add you again? Will you come back? No, she's stuck. But I hope that you can hear me. Okay, please write something. I can hear you. Oh, great. Thank you, Gail. So you can hear me. That's great. Okay. Mary Jo just got kicked off. Yes, she was stuck. Great. So she's going to come back. Apparently, she has the link. So she's going to reconnect when she's ready. Thank you for giving me a heart. I appreciate that. So today we're talking about divorce and divorce recovery because Mary Jo herself had to go through that boom of a shocker 44 years after she was happily married, apparently. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, thank you. Shalom to you too. Oh, so Mary Jo is an amazing person. She's so loving. There's like love oozing out of her. It's just so wonderful to be in her presence. She was at my retreat last time and it was just such a pleasure. I felt like I had an anchor. Anytime I felt like I was like not sure, I would look at her and she would just give me this like loving look. Oh, it's amazing. Talking about my retreat, go sign up again. Even if you signed up before, I know Elizabeth, you have, but everybody who is watching should go to connectedforreal.com/retreat because um, we're starting next week on Monday. And this is the last one that I'm ever doing live and for free. So it's the free retreat. It's called the Marriage Breakthrough Retreat. And it's 1 hour a day for 7 days, 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which are the calm method, which is the method that is the foundation of how you can click in, adjust, connect to God and yourself and your husband so that you can have an amazing life. And then the 3 last days, which are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we do intimacy, design the atmosphere in your home, and bringing it all together. So definitely highly recommended. I really hope that Mary Jo, I will sign up again. Great. Yay. I'm looking forward to it. I hope that Mary Jo can come back because she has so much amazing stuff to talk about. We were talking about backstage, all the amazing things. And she was just saying that she heard um, my podcast. I don't know if you guys, if you're not on my email list, then you won't know because I only shared it on my email list. But I was a guest on a podcast yesterday. It was called the Top American Rebbetzins, and no, America's Top Rebbetzins. I messed that up. Anyway, America's Top Rebbetzins, and that was an amazing interview. And I really gave. I was so present. I felt so there, and you could feel it in the recording. So definitely go check that out. You know what? Let me find you the link. I would love to hear from you guys if you have any questions. Since our last breakthrough retreat, our home environment is calm and happy. Wow. 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 I am so happy to hear that. You don't know how happy it makes me feel. And you're not the only one who says that. 350 people went through the retreat in the last 3 retreats I did. And it has changed so many homes and so many lives for good. And the improvements are so touching. So thank you for sharing with me, Elizabeth. That is such an amazing feeling. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would love to hear from you guys now that we're just stuck up here on Zoom, not on Zoom, on live. Um, and you're with me. So, Gail, if you're still here, let me know what you're up to, what you do. If you have any questions about marriage, if you have any questions about how to stay calm, how to click in, how to connect, how to make everything work, you're welcome. Thank you. Um, yeah, everybody share the retreat is so powerful. And I can't believe I'm doing this last time, but you know what happened? I was getting really, really silent. And I took a couple of deep breaths and I talked to God and I said, do you want me to schedule 4 more retreats for this coming year? Because last year I scheduled 4 retreats. I figured this year I'll schedule 4 more. And I got this really clear no. And at first I was like, what? So what are we going to do instead? And I didn't get anything. I didn't get clarity on what's coming next, but I got clarity on the fact that this has to be the last one. So that is why this one is the last one. It's going to be epic, way better than last one because last time I was just post baby and I had my head was fuzzy. And this time around I have completely like processed everything to make it more tight. So I'm very excited. Thank you, Elizabeth, for coming. Have a wonderful day. Okay, Gail, if you're still here, I'd love to hear if you have any questions. And if anybody else is watching, because I see that there are 3 or 4 of you watching. So feel free to send in a question or a comment. And let's see what's happening with Mary Jo. I hope that she's okay. Let's see. Anybody have any questions that you can that you would like to ask? Okay. So Mary Jo, her internet completely went out. I think that she's coming back because she already tried coming back twice, and I guess she's restarting her router or something. We're waiting for her. But meanwhile, I am here for you guys if you need to ask questions about marriage, if you want to ask questions about parenting, if you want to ask questions about my baby. He's 6 months old. He's delicious. If you want to ask about the retreat's happening starting Monday, which is in less than a week, which is completely mind-blowing. I get so excited every time. You guys should know that I prepare for about 6 weeks for this retreat because I want it to be so, so, so good. There she is.
We will try this on a phone. And I apologize. I have no internet. They must be installing cables somewhere or something. I've never had this happen.
Well, it's here. She's here, and we're back.
Technology. Gotta love it.
Yes. So, the coolest thing, yes, they're telling me in the chat that they're excited that you're back. At first I didn't know if they could hear me or if they could hear you, like which one of us was the one who lost internet. So then finally someone said that it was you that lost internet and they could hear me.
Yeah.
So I continued blabbing for a while, which I had a great time doing. I invited them to the retreat so you could all tell them how awesome it is.
Hey, I have been to that retreat and it is awesome. It is, it was so exciting to go. You just share such wisdom and such great content, and it was very much worth it. So I would urge everyone on this to go to that retreat, even if you have been before. That's one of those things.
Right.
And especially if you're not going to do this again. So
Oh, yeah. I was telling them I got really silent, and that was God's answer was no. That was the last one.
wow.
So, and I have no idea what's coming, right? We were talking about this before, and like you have to trust God that he knows where he's taking you.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just like, and what are we going to do? And where are we going to go? And what's going to be? And are we there yet? And you can't do that.
And as a mom, you can appreciate that. Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, just trust me on this one. I'm like, okay. So I have no idea what's coming next. I know it's going to be big because I'm suddenly getting a lot more, of that intuition thing. Like I'm
Mhm.
getting more in touch. So I have no idea what's coming, but I'm getting really exciting, sort of sneak peeks of what could happen. So who knows? Who knows? Very exciting, very unknown and very exciting. But I know right now I have to focus on my retreat and it's happening
Yeah.
starting Monday. So I was telling them before that I spend 6 weeks preparing for the retreat. The entire like I revamp everything. I want to make sure that everything's tighter, everything's more precise. I'm trying to work on staying within the time,
Mhm.
allotted because it's easy to keep talking, but I really want to go from 8 to 9 Israel time and like 1 to 2 Eastern. I want to keep it really, concise and precise, and I want to serve in that way. So that's what I'm working on this time.
Well, I'm sure that it'll be just what God wants it to be,
Yes.
because you're
Exactly.
listening and you're planning and you're following.
Yeah.
And sometimes God loves spontaneity, as we've just experienced. So,
God has a great sense of humor. And you were just telling me that your backdrop fell on you.
I had 16 feet of tablecloth material, fairly heavy polyester, hanging on PVC pipe right behind me because I had this white wall, white hair. And so I had this, and it was beautiful and it was great, but it was right smack dab in the middle of my room, and it was a pain. Uh, but I kept it. So one day I'm sitting here on my computer, fortunately not online, just working, and the thing fell over on me forward like this, and I started laughing hysterically and started fighting my way out from 16 feet of this fabric. I don't know how much that weighed, but I felt like I was smothering. So it was,
So
I'm
see,
like,
it was
thank you.
something had to happen, and at least it was just the internet.
Right, right. So I spent a weekend right after that hanging wallpaper. So you can kind of see I have a cathedral ceiling back there, and you know.
I love it. It's so my style. I'm like, can I have that, please?
Oh, you showed me your painting, and maybe there's some way that you can scan that and send it, and there must be a service out there that would create wallpaper based on your painting, because you paint beautifully.
Thank you. Okay, let's get back to our conversation because I'm sure that the people watching are wondering what's going on. So, okay, so we're getting back into it. My real focus is marriage and taking mediocre marriages and making it stronger. A lot
Mhm.
of people they go after I'm going to lower the rate of divorce and I'm going to get rid of divorce. Divorce is bad and I'm, against it. And I feel like that's true, right? We don't want divorce and we want to help people get in a better place. But what's more dangerous is the mediocre marriages, the people who are
Yes.
okay. I'm not getting divorced tomorrow, but I'm not happy. Like it's not working, but it is, or like the technical marriage where it's like we run a good household together, but there's no emotional intimacy where I feel like this is my soulmate. And that's dangerous,
It
right?
is dangerous. It is dangerous because then you have two people who are going through the motions, and they're dead inside. And we're
Yeah.
not meant to be dead inside. We're meant to be eh, have that life. I mean, the word enthusiasm means God within.
Wow.
So, you know, when we're enthusiastic about life, it means that we're living that life as God wants us to live. And you're right. To just go through the motions is pitiful.
Yes. And then there was a woman in the first retreat. She was one of my first implementation calls. By the way, at the retreat you get a call with me, which is really fun. I love meeting everyone because I'm such a people person. So, especially in COVID, like, I crave people.
Yeah, yeah.
So she was one of my first implementation calls. She remembers sitting outside. Her daughter was doing some, activity, and she sat outside on the rock and we spoke. And it was on Zoom, and she said to me, I don't see myself married in 10 years because right now my kids are young. They need me. They need us to stay, in a stable relationship. And my husband's okay. So there's nothing to run away from. He's not abusive. He's not bad. He's not doing anything wrong. But I just don't feel like this is going to last. And I gave her, my strength and whatever I can give her to hold her up and give her a little bit of direction. And then we spoke a couple times since, and it was just like, okay, whatever. And then recently I sent out an email saying that I'm doing market research and I'd love to know from people who were at the retreat if they can tell me, feedback how to make it better. because I love, as a graphic designer, I love critique. I love making things better. So I don't take it personally. I'm just like, just tell it to me. Tell it to me. I should do this, right? Okay, fine. I'll bet. I'll do better. I'll do better. So I'm very excited about this retreat because I actually did so much work to improve it. And she got on the call and I said to her, and by the way, how's your marriage going? And she said, "Oh, it's amazing. We went to this thing and whatever and da da da, and we went through this whole turnaround, and we're just this is the most amazing marriage, and I'm so glad, and my husband's so supportive about everything I'm doing." And I'm sitting there going, "Do you remember where you were? Like it's in February. It's not even a year, you
Yeah.
know?" And
Yeah.
she said, "Wait, what? Wow, I remember sitting there. Yeah, you're right. Oh, now I realize that was what started it." And
Oh,
she gave me like a whole testimonial and like, boom, I just realized your retreat was the thing that made me take responsibility for myself and be like, I don't want to end up there. So what do I do to get there? And she took responsibility. She turned it all around. She says they're having a great time together. They're laughing, they're dancing, they're playing, their kids are enjoying themselves. And it's amazing what can happen just from 1 week, just one experience where you take responsibility and do it. You own it.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really, really important. You got married for a reason. There was something you saw in that person that lit you up. The two of you loved each other. The two of you, like you said, played together. You had common interests. You found joy in each other.
Right.
There are points in marriage that are danger spots. When your children are little, it's easy to get so caught up in just the work of little children and the attention that they require. Marriage is not 50-50. Sometimes it's 150 and 150. And it takes work, and sometimes that work, or later on, you may have parents who are sick. You may have other responsibilities. There are times when your job requires that you give 150%, that you can't get away from. And, you have to keep coming back to, there's a reason we got married. We still love each other. That love may have a different form now, but we still love each other. You don't want to get to the point where your kids graduate from high school or college and you look at each other and say, what did I ever see in you?
Right.
Don't wait to that point.
That's the thing, people they wait for their kids to grow up so that they can lean into their passion because they don't want to take away from the kids. They wait for their kids, to finally sleep through the night, to finally invest in their own intimacy. And it's like, no, it's never going to happen. You have to do it now. You have to do it now, even with all the crazy, because here's the thing. And I think that this is what touched off us wanting to go live was I was talking about, you are the container, right? In my program, the Marriage Mastermind, there's God as the core, and then there's your life, right? So I deal with marriage and business, and they have to work together. And then you are the container of all that. So if you want to have a lot of things on your plate, you don't have to walk around with a plate that's like, overflowed and feels cramped. You actually can get a bigger plate by, growing yourself. And then there's room and there's space and there's air and there's everything else in there. There's a way to have an extraordinary life where you're not carrying it all in a way that feels heavy, but where you're really just living all of those things. And that's what we wanted to really talk about.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. I mean, that is, pardon me, everybody, doing this on a phone is not ideal. that is so key, is that there is room for self-development. There is room for development as a couple. There is room, you don't have to feel constrained by whatever time of life, time of marriage, time of family, whatever season you're in. There are going to be dry seasons, but just when you concentrate on how unfulfilling your life feels and how dissatisfied you are, you're going to see that everywhere.
Right.
I don't want to be a Pollyanna, but what you think about, you become. You know, if you think about how terrible you think your life is, you're going to see all the parts that are not wonderful.
Right. Right. So let's talk about, we were talking about divorce and how you said it wasn't meant to be. It's not supposed, it's not the ideal. And I agree with you. Ideally, the marriage should grow and be wonderful and fulfilling. And I think that just like anything else in life, it's a choice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And because you have the choice, having divorce as a choice is actually a really powerful thing, because nobody can ever say I'm stuck married, I'm stuck being married.
That's true.
Right? You
That's true.
can't. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to say I'm choosing to be married every single day, because if I was not interested, I would get divorced. So when people say, but I can't get divorced, that's not true. You can. You're choosing not to. So now stand for your choice. Oh no, but my kids, but this, but that. Okay. You know, there's room for boundaries and learning to, stand up for the things that you need. And you can do that in a very respectful way. I think one of the, hardest things is for that we have this thing. We have a problem in society. It's if let's say your foot hurts, you can either amputate it, or you can what was it? Or you could live with the pain.
Yeah.
So it's like, which one do I choose? Do I choose amputate or live with pain? How come we never bring up the option of healing?
Healing. Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
what's going
Yeah.
on with us as a society where we don't even bring up that option?
Yeah.
You can heal a marriage just like you can heal your foot. There is
Yes.
no such thing as having to live with the pain as just, the default option, because obviously I'm not going to get rid of my foot. That doesn't make sense. So when people say I have no choice, it's either I live with this pain or I get rid of him. Well,
No, there are options. There are options. Yes.
yes. And so that's where I really want women to know that they can choose to take responsibility for their life, for their marriage, to be able to really, hello. I have a little cutie pie. Excuse me, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I am in the middle of a live. Everybody say hello to Yeshayahu. Bye. I love you. Take my phone and charge it, okay? Bye.
Can you do Duolingo also?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, well, your internet went down. My kids came in.
Life happens and we go on.
We're doing great. So what was I saying? Yeah,
Choices.
the power of choice, the power of owning up to yourself to say, I am going to choose something different. Because
Yeah.
one of the biggest things that we do as humans is wait for someone else to pick it up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's not taking initiative, so why should I? And the answer is, well, if you want up. Um, I
I'm doing the Oreo first.
I remember that season.
and you can't be angry because they're so cute.
No, that's being a child.
Thank God. Yeah, and it's funny. It's that timing. By the way, in Israel it's 5:20 right now. So it's afternoon, it's before supper, it's the house is, is dancing. And I'm like stuck in a room being like, shh, don't bet it. So it's bound to happen. We wait for someone else to take initiative. And one time I went to a parenting class. Was it parenting or marriage? It was with the same teacher, so I can't remember. I think it was a marriage class. One second, let me see what's going on here.
This brings back so many memories for me. I used to get on the phone, and of course technology was a long cord on your kitchen wall phone. That was about it. And the cord wouldn't quite reach to the refrigerator. And I remember my son, who was just a toddler, getting in the refrigerator and grabbing a dozen eggs, and I couldn't quite reach him. The
That's
answer
sad.
being, just lay the phone down and get the child.
You could think that now backwards, but in the moment
At the
you're
time,
holding on. You're holding on to everything. You're not letting go.
Yeah.
That super mom thing, right? It's like, I can't hang
Yeah.
up on you. I need to do it all.
Yeah, great illustration. Oh.
Whew. So yeah, I went to a marriage class, and she said that if we want something, we should get it. We should work towards it. And I said, it's not fair. I'm always the one working. I'm always the one working to improve our marriage. I'm always the one working to improve parenting. I'm always the one working to learn new things. I'm always, because, I'm that personality. I like going to these classes. Of course, my husband is, in his books. Why do I need to do it? Let him do it. Like, let him pick it up one time. That's it. I'm on strike. And she says, okay, you can try that and see what happens. Like, if you don't care doing that experiment, go ahead. And she basically made me realize that you work towards the things you want. So if you want to be happy, then you make sure you're happy, and you're in charge of that. Nobody else can take that away.
Oh, that's a great point. Happiness is an inside job. And anytime we look to another person, including our spouse, especially our spouse, to make us happy, we're looking in the wrong place, because God doesn't put another person in charge of making us happy. Happiness is our job.
Oh, and it's so annoying, because then you actually have to do something about it.
There's responsibility there, rats,
It's like, because as mature as you are, you just want to rest a little. You're like, okay, could we just not try today? And I tried it and it was fine. But that's the thing about thrive and survive. There is a game of ups and downs, and you are in a season of this and a season of that, and you are in different rhythms throughout your life. But you have to know that you have the key to change it, and nobody else does. So if you're fine being in survive mode for a little bit, it's fine to be in survival mode when it's timed, when it's, contained. But when that becomes your norm, then there's a problem.
Right.
I remember in the beginning of COVID, when people were just in survive mode, and everybody was just trying to survive with the kids at home and the work and the this and the that, everything was flying. There came a point where we just had to take a deep breath and say, how do we make this work?
Yes. Yeah. And I think, to that point, wow, you cannot live running on adrenaline, running in crisis mode all the time. And at the same time, you can't live in the mode of just letting life happen to you either.
Right.
You know,
And that's the thing where we were
go
saying
along,
it's either
whatever.
this or that, right? You're either here or you're there. You're never finding balance because you're just, I can't, right? Like it feels like
Yeah.
it's not in your hands. And that I want to give that power back to every woman. I want you to know that you can, that it's in
Yes.
your hands. And that's what I do at the retreat and with my work because it's really important. Now, let's talk about your work because I think it's so important because even after a big blast like that, being surprised
Mhm.
with a divorce or is finding out something that, is not, I won't
Yeah.
say forgivable because forgiving is a whole other, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
forgiving is really about yourself and not about the other person. It's
Yes.
letting go of the weight of holding someone else. Um, but in English, we can say that there are times where I think, and I think that too is from God. I think that God throws us these things because he's working for us, for our good to get us to the next level. And if that's my journey, then, that's what it is. And I think that you've been handling that really well.
Oh, thank you. I, I, when you and I entered this conversation before we went live, and the question came up, does God want divorce? As an overall umbrella question, no. Did God want my divorce as an individual? I hate to say it, but I have a lot of confirmation that yes, this was the right thing for me to do. I'm not trying to justify it, but my husband was serially unfaithful and was living a double life, and I didn't even know it. And it was pretty life-shattering to find that out after a 50-year relationship, 44 years of marriage. So he made choices that were not compatible with us continuing to have a marriage. And I actually, when I went to prayer with this, which was the first thing I did when I found out, because it's like, what else do you do? I mean, I just sat down and said, what now, Lord? What's happening? I actually, in my mind, saw God take me by the right hand and walk me away. And I, in my mind's eye, I was a little child, and I reached back with my left hand for my husband, who in this picture was also a little child. And God said to him, he can't come with us. He'll come later, but he can't come with us now. And as devastating as it was to leave my marriage, there is a peace about it because I told my husband it would have killed me to stay in that relationship. And I know it would have. Something in me died. And I had to find that again.
Right.
And I believe that that's my call. Would I ever have predicted that? Oh, no way. No way. Would I ever wish it for anyone? No.
Of course.
But I could not thrive. I could not even survive in the situation. I mean, to say nothing that it was physically dangerous for me, it was soul killing.
Right. I think also there is something about a red line, a boundary that you have to keep to, right? Like there are promises to yourself that you must keep in order to have that self-respect that, people talk about self-care, but it's deeper than that. It's,
Yes.
the understanding that the promises to yourself matter more, just as much, but I really want to say more than promises that you make to other people. And if you have a boundary, and this isn't a personal boundary to you, this is a real boundary in the values that we live.
Yes.
And this is a boundary that's known and everybody, is accepted by everyone. There's certain things that are not acceptable. And if you would have stayed, I think you would have, crushed that integrity within yourself of keeping to the values because there's such a disconnect, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's well put.
yeah, I think that I look up to people like you who, as difficult and as painful as it is, will actually stand up for the boundary and do the right thing because it makes it safe for all of us to have those holy relationships, right? If this is broken on a social level, to a point where it's normal and nobody cares anymore, then we're going to all suffer, right? There is no such thing as a safe haven from that. So it's really important to stand up to that, even if it's heavy and even if it's scary and even if it's painful. It's easier to then, like you said, I'm with God, God's with me, we're building it all up again, and you're in integrity. So it's much easier to then go and live with yourself.
And I think, we have as women such ambivalent feelings, and rightfully so, about leaving a marriage relationship because it is so sacred, that many times it takes years and years and years after a divorce, and people still haven't moved on. They've not been able to resolve the putting those shattered pieces back together. They may get married again. They may go on with their lives. But if you have a car with a flat tire and you put it in a garage for 5 or 10 years, it's still going to have a flat tire after that time. And there are things about recovery from divorce that if you don't address the issues of grief, of unforgiveness, of unresolved negative emotions, of finding out who you really are as a person, if you don't address those issues at some point, divorce is only one bad thing that happens in your life. Life happens and things pile on and pile on and pile on. And at some point, there's going to be a straw that breaks the camel's back.
Right. And I love the metaphor of, having a flat tire and just waiting it out is not going to do, the time is not going to heal things that have to be fixed.
Exactly.
The way I learned about trauma is that it's a capsule. It's encapsulated. And so the emotion and the lesson are attached with a capsule so that you never forget that lesson, but it brings up the emotion every time. And that's why it's traumatic, right?
Right.
And it doesn't matter how many years pass in your brain, that trauma stays in that capsule. It feels like this second. It feels so
Exactly.
fresh. And 300 years later, it's still fresh, right? Because it's so tight. It's airtight. You can't you can't just hope that it melts away or, works itself out. Those are things that you have to address. Those are things that you have to go back and work through. And,
Mhm.
the way to really uncapsulate it is like really take it apart, take out the
Yeah.
emotion, leave the lesson and be okay with letting go of the emotions that trigger, believing that you're always going to remember that lesson no matter what. It's not something that you need help with, right?
Right.
So our
Right.
brain is there to protect us, and that's why it's encapsulating it that way. Think about a little kid touching fire, right? He's going to always
Mhm.
remember that immediate from his parents or whatever, right? But he doesn't need it. You grow up and you understand that don't touch fire, it's dangerous. Okay, we move on. You don't stay traumatized from it forever. So it's really, really important to treat it. And I love what you're doing. How do people work with you?
I have, first of all, I offer a free, what I call a divorce breakthrough discovery call, which they can access. There's a link on my website, which is maryjorennert.com. Leave the gremling off. And on there's a link for that free call. And then if we decide that maybe it's a good fit to work together, that I can help them, that they'll benefit from what I offer, I have a 12-week coaching program that involves an online component of 12 trainings where we address healing the past. We do some intensive grief work and assessing the present and seeing how stable that is, what areas need to be improved, and then helping you begin to dream again, because it's very difficult to plan a future when your past and your present are so messed up.
Mm.
And part of that is discovering, what's your true personality? What's your temperament? Who are you really? What are your strengths and how can you best use them? And during that 12 weeks, I have individual coaching sessions and weekly group coaching sessions that are very helpful, because I know from your retreat work, you can bond with a group very quickly, and as you're journeying with women, I think we women are communal anyway. As you're journeying with women, and you share experiences, you share knowledge, there is a real value in that. And I have, 12 weeks is not a real long time, but we've had some really good breakthroughs with women who are 10, 15, 20 years out of divorce and reach a point where they just feel like something's off. They can't let go of some of the emotions. Some of them have been maybe not into heavy substance abuse, but they've reached for alcohol as a
Numbing.
yeah, something that just kind of gets them through, only it becomes a crutch. And
Right.
so we haven't even addressed that. So I'm very pleased, because two of the women that I've worked with have said at the end of it, okay, now I want to go on and I want to work with women who've been through this and help them. And I think, for me, that's the best testimonial. Is I want this to be like ripples in a pond. What I do then goes outward and empowers other women to do what they're called to do, to take their experiences and make the world a better place.
I love that. I love that. I love the structure that you have, because it really is all consuming. You can't move forward without addressing the things that are holding you back, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just so powerful. It's so, so powerful. And I think especially in this situation, there is such power to having a group support,
Yeah.
because it's hard to speak to people who don't understand, right? And I think that one of the things that you said, when we spoke the first time, is that some people, there's the divorce out there, right? Like the divorce rate and divorce and whatever. So you have kids of people who are, or parents who are divorced, who already see themselves getting divorced, and to them this is normal
Yeah.
and it just expected. And that's one thing where people feel like it's already become a thing. But there is a different type of divorce where your whole life is about keeping this sacred relationship,
Mhm.
and everything surrounds around marriage, and how do I make my marriage better, and I go to classes and I go to this and I go to that, and I think everything's okay. And then what do I do when I find myself on the other side? That shock, the shock value of something that, like something that you went through, is so great that it it almost has to come with a social support.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do not mean to ever say that couples can't work through infidelity, as terrible as it is. We did work through it when we were in our 30s. I think we buried it more than worked through it, which was not a good thing. You have to have two people who want to make something work. You have to have two people in that situation who are going to put in the work and make the changes that are necessary to make that marriage work. And I know couples who've done that very, very well.
What do you think you wish you could tell yourself at 30s when you found out for the first time and had to work through it? What would you say to that, Mary Jo?
I would say acknowledge it and get help. What I did is I just my husband ignored it, and life went on, and I buried it, and I cried by myself every single day for 2 years. But our children were real little. I didn't want my family or his family or our friends to think any worse of us. I was not smart enough or something to get professional help. I didn't even talk to clergy or anybody. I think I shared it with one older woman who was kind of a mentor for me, and she just kind of walked me through. But I always say, you need help. That's something you cannot do by yourself. Don't be so proud and so self-sufficient that you think you can handle something like that without help. I entered a depression. I didn't even recognize it was a depression. Because my way of coping was I got super busy. I was not working then, but I over volunteered. I did all kinds of things in church, anything to dull that pain. We did not resolve the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And when it popped up again 30 some years later, I knew I couldn't live like that. I knew I did not want to experience that kind of pain again. And my husband didn't think it was any big deal. And when he didn't think it was a big deal, and I knew it was huge, that's when I knew I could not stay in that marriage.
Wow. I have a couple of people who have reached out to me, and that's why I'm asking, because a lot of their response is, okay, whatever, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? This is who I married. This is the situation. What? I'm going to do something, drastic about it. So I almost want them to hear from you. Yes, go do something drastic, right? Like, and it doesn't have to mean get divorced, but it has to
No,
mean
no,
get help, get
that helped.
real help. And I want to add to that. And if that help doesn't help, get different help and keep
Exactly.
looking for help. Keep looking for help, because sometimes you think, okay, I tried once, that's it, didn't work, never mind. But no, it's your responsibility to run around and find the one person who's going to heal you. Think about it as a physical ailment. You
Yeah,
would run from doctor to doctor. You would not give up. You would not
right.
give up and say, oh, I guess that's it. I guess that, my mother's going to die because there's no answer. You're going to find whatever flower, whatever thing, whatever doctor, whatever miracle. You're not going to give up. So don't give up
Exactly.
on yourself.
Exactly. Your marriage, that relationship, is the most important relationship in your life outside of God. My parents, they were married 65 years before my dad died. Life was not always roses. In fact, sometimes life was very difficult for them. But I always knew, and my siblings always knew, that they loved each other, and they put their relationship at the center. And then their relationship and their love for us flowed out of that. And there was a real security in that. It was wonderful. And I saw that in my grandparents, who were married for 66 years, and I saw it in my in-laws, who were married for 63. So divorce was not part of my paradigm. It was not an option that I even considered in my 30s.
Mm-hmm. How
But
did it affect
now,
your kids? How did it, I know that we're running out of time, but I'm so curious, because how did it affect your kids that you stayed during that, since you're from your 30s on? You had little kids, and you were really, the backstory in your head is, I got to stay because my kids are young.
I am sure that at that time, I was not an ideal mother. I was angry. I was depressed. I sometimes took that out on my children. Um, if I had gotten help, I would have been able to be a better mother at that time.
Yeah, but now, after all those years of living with, my parents are still married, but something is under the rugs.
Mhm.
There's, do you feel like,
I don't think we, because of the fact that we really did, after that 2-year period, sometimes God reaches out and heals you. And I did experience that. I had an encounter with God where I knew I was loved beyond measure. I knew that I knew that I knew. And it didn't matter. And truly, my husband and I, this was not a loveless marriage. It really wasn't. We had a good time. We enjoyed our children. We did a lot of fun things. We loved each other, which is why it kind of I got blindsided at the end there. And people don't understand that if they've not been through it. I don't know how to explain that. It probably blindsided him when I walked away. But I don't, this was not an abuse situation. And I know when children grow up in a loveless marriage, or a marriage where they're seeing a bad relationship. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, between their parents, where they're seeing one person consistently dominated, treated badly, then it does mark them. It marks them so that they're crippled in a way they're not able to parent correctly or marry and have a great relationship. I mean, it really does affect them that way. And it takes a lot of work for them to recover from that type of thing. That would be a good question to talk to my kids about. You know, how much I look at my son, he's got a great marriage, great family. I have a daughter who is happily single and likes it that way. Were there situations that definitely affected them? I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. And did it affect them as adults when we broke up? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's traumatic no matter what age you are.
Right, of course. The question that comes up for me now is, do you think that at that time when you were in your 30s, after you healed from, the depression, whatever, even if he wouldn't have done anything, do you think that going to a coach or a therapist or a counselor or something for yourself would have helped you?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Because a lot of times you have,
Mhm.
a lot of times the thing that's holding women back from doing anything is, well, he's not going to come along. And they say it takes two to tango. And if there's nobody to dance with, then I'm not dancing, and that's it. And, my approach is you can single-handedly improve your marriage. So I want to hear from you if you think that's true also in that situation where.
I definitely do. I definitely do. And I think even my husband would have agreed with that. Because I went from being, we were married like 8 years before our first child came along. And I was not working. I remember taking care of my two little kids and being snowed in with two of the neighbor children, friends of ours, whose parents had gone on a long weekend or something, and here I am snowed in with like 4 kids, 4 and under, and by the end of the weekend, I was thinking in rhyme, like Dr. Seuss. I'd read so many books, and I thought, my mind is turned to jello here. I felt like I had no adult companionship, no mental stimulation. Your self-esteem takes a hit sometimes when you're a mom, and it just does. It did for me anyway. Maybe I know.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the things that happens is that your brain is wired to protect and take care of the kids, and you have to intentionally say, but my marriage comes first and my kids will gain from that. But that's something that you have to choose. Again, it doesn't come naturally. It's something that you have to be really conscious about.
Yeah. And
isn't it amazing that one weekend can shake you up and make you feel like there is no tomorrow? Like this will be forever. I'm always going to be with kids who are 4 and under. Like, you don't think about the fact that in 5 years they're going to be 5 years older. That does not completely not part of the picture.
I remember saying to my husband, men are just wired differently. I remember saying to my husband when my kids were real little, I really need some adult companionship. And at that particular time, he was going out with the guys every night. We lived in Arkansas, which was hot summers and humid. And he would tell me he would go out and cut wood every night with these guys, and they would have to wear long sleeves and jeans because the mosquitoes were so bad. And he said the mosquitoes sound almost like the saws. And he said, well, then, why don't you get a babysitter and come out and cut wood with us? And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about here.
Right. I think you misunderstood, but yeah, it's really important to know what you want. Okay, we have to cut this because we are way over time, and this is amazing. And I'm so grateful to you for your openness and for your vulnerability. I think that everybody can learn so much from, everyone else's experiences, and I thank you for that.
Well,
so thank you so much for being with us.
And this has been awesome, and I thank you and your audience for their patience with my technical difficulties and coping with me on a phone here and stuff. So
it's all good. We enjoyed it. I think it was really powerful. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back next time.